What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the GameOverGreggy show. I will be your host today. My name is Nick Scarpino. Greg is out doing something that I'm not sure if we're allowed to talk about now. We sure aren't.
100% not.
But he's having a great time, and I'm sure you'll hear about it eventually on one of our podcasts. Maybe it'll be game related. Maybe it won't be related. I'm not letting anything slip. And if you torture me, sir and or ma'am, just know I will tell you immediately. I don't like pain. I don't like any of that stuff. And the psychological ramifications of torture last for years. So just give people up. That's what I'm talking about. To my immediate left, I am joined by Mr. Tim Gettys, the pure one. And we have a special guest today. Someone who we're very excited to talk with. Miss Amy Johnston is here with us today. She is I want to say stunt person, actor, voice actor, author, Instagrammer, YouTuber.
Instagrammer.
Yeah.
Is that a
Nick
thing now?
Nick is so jealous that she's verified
You're verified on Instagram. I want to know.
You're going to put it on a resume that
you want to
she's
know my
an
secret?
Instagrammer?
That's the thing that I was doing, like, of course, the 13 seconds of research on you before we went live. And I'm like, wait a minute, you have that little blue check mark on Instagram?
Yeah, that was one thing he asked me.
I love it. I love it. But I love
like, what have you worked on? It's like, how did you get that blue check?
Yeah. Well, but here, and in my defense, though.
She's had a Facebook page. She used to be on MySpace.
She's aware of Friendster. No, to be fair, and we're going to go into this a lot because your background is phenomenal. Like, you just casually dropped like when we were talking about fighting, that you're like, oh yeah, you know, George, like I was talking about George St. Pierre, like, he's a really nice guy. Yeah, we worked together on the set of Winter Soldier. And I was like, all right, let's earmark that. Well, but then the most impressive thing is I start looking at your Instagram page, see the book that you wrote. That's cool. Then I notice the check mark, can't see beyond it. Cannot see beyond it.
Well, that's the point. That's the point.
How did you get it?
Do you want to know the secret?
Yeah. Should we say this on air? Is this Instagram going to come out to you?
I'm the secret. I just basically asked a producer to do it for me.
Damn it.
Because they wanted something from me, and I'm like, well, you can do this for me. Because I've been trying to get that for a while, actually, and I didn't understand how to do it. I thought you just had to have a certain amount of followers, but I don't think that's true.
Interesting, because I've utilized that strategy in almost every corner of my life. And by asked a producer to do it, I just don't do anything, and then Tim or Greg does it for me. I would not be verified. I would not be verified on Twitter were it not for Tim and Greg.
See, I'm not verified on Twitter.
Okay.
Well, so then I need to work on. We need a flip flop.
Okay. Well, this is Tim. Let me introduce you to Tim.
Tim.
Yeah. We'll have to figure all that out. So we met you many moons ago at VidCon. The VidCon that we always talk about, the one that we decided that we were going to leave IGN.
That was a big VidCon.
Gonna become a YouTube channel and all that stuff. That was the VidCon 2011, I want to say.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was like when we were like, it wasn't when we decided to leave IGN. It was when we decided to make YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, because we were just all of us.
It was the one that
IGN.
Greg came back and said, I am inspired to make. It was right when, so a little history on us. We had started a channel called Start, which was, remember back in the day, the YouTube initiative where they gave a bunch of people money and they gave it to us and we were like, we know exactly what to do. And we did not know what to do with it. Well, Greg was one of the people we gave him a show, and Tim was like, we should go to VidCon. We should meet people there. We should try to network with people like Harley from Epic Mealtime, Phil DeFranco, all like his producer, who I pissed off immediately.
You did really badly.
That's a different story.
That's a story that we don't tell.
That is a story for a different day. Even though we've told it on like 3 podcasts.
I can't imagine you pissing anybody off.
No, it was a total accident.
He was getting a little too cute.
It was a total accident. I was trying to be charming.
You guys were actually there when it happened.
There was a thin line between charming and just brutally insulting. And so there is that. No, but that was the one where Tim was like, we got to go to VidCon. We got to start networking with these people. And Greg came back. He had such a positive experience that he was like, I want to be in the space. And that was the original, like the origin story for Kind of Funny.
And so
crazy.
For everybody, anyone that's been to VidCon or has heard about VidCon, there is a bar at the Hilton, which is kind of where everybody gathers around and congregates at the end of the show. And that's where all the networking happens and like getting to know each other and stuff. Meanwhile, we did a meet and greet at Portillo's, and it was our first time ever at Portillo's. And you were there at the meet and greet with your now fiance.
You gotta
get over here,
Mr. Zach Morris,
longtime best friend Zach Morris. Just give him the hello. So these two came. And,
by the way, if you want to talk at all, we have a shock mic right there. And the reason we call it a shock mic is because if you touch that end metal, you will get a shock. So but if you don't touch it, you're welcome to speak into that whenever spoken to.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Excellent.
But yeah, so we met you guys there, and immediately we're like, holy shit, you're one of the most fascinating human beings of all time.
You're talking about me or Zach? Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Like, he's great too. But immediately you're like, oh yeah, I do stunt videos and things like that. And I was actually aware of the videos. Like you were showing me them on your phone. I'm like, I've seen this before.
Really?
Yeah, the Riven X3i. Is that what it is?
The 1,000-pound stuff.
1,000-pound stuff. Like all these videos were going viral. I remember them because they did a series of Street Fighter 4 like combo videos.
Yeah, those
were
a big hit.
Street Fighter in real life, and I was like, these are freaking rad. And that idea turned into Ultimate Fan Fights. That we did at IGN for Start.
Right.
With Gak Attack.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a fun series. That was a great series. That was one of those series that were like, we should do more of these, and then we didn't. And then we did more Up at Noons instead.
Well, the funniest thing about Ultimate Fan Fight
that was easier, I guess.
It's kind of like, for people that don't know, I mean, you can just YouTube it. They're still up. But it's kind of like Death Battle or the Ismahawk minute matchups or Bat in the Sun. That type of stuff of just like, let's take different characters.
It was like, who would win in a fight? Yeah. Link or Peter Pan.
So that's the thing. It's like they pitched us on this idea when we were at IGN. It was a fucking awesome idea. We're like, let's do it. We're so about this. And they're like, okay, we're going to do Captain America versus Batman. And we're like, okay. And they're like, yeah, we're going to do Solid Snake versus Ezio from Assassin's Creed. It'll be like a stealth fight. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. We're going to do Scorpion versus Ryu from Street Fighter. I'm like, that makes total sense. I'm like, we're going to show you a pilot video. And then like a month later, they sent us the pilot video. And it's Link versus Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Really?
Now, it was a good video. It's funny.
Is it released?
Yeah, it's online.
Yeah,
see it. But we were like, one of these things, not like the other. Like, whereas Link, great. Peter Pan, not necessarily within the zeitgeist of pop culture at the time.
Wait, spoiler.
Or ever.
Well, he probably had a time in the early 80s where Peter Pan was a big deal. But
who won, though? Spoiler.
I can't remember.
The way
that
the show worked is
you got to choose.
There was two endings. So you got to choose who wins.
So it would go to a split screen, and then you click on the
right.
annotation, and then so you can see both endings, which is exactly, by look on your face, audio listeners, a cop out, a huge cop out, because we all know Peter Pan would kick Link's ass.
Obviously,
would kick that ass.
But yeah, so and the first episode we put out was Batman versus Captain America, though, because we're not leading with Peter Pan versus
No, I think
Link.
I think the last one we put out was Peter Pan. Right?
I think it was like the third or fourth one.
Yeah.
I remember having to ask IGN for promotion on the front page. And they laughed at me.
Oh God, I know. I felt so bad because I was like, we got to get this thing promoted because they were, they cost money. Yeah. It wasn't like they were doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. We got to get these some views on there. But it was just that whole initiative was so hilarious. It was so hilarious, so unbelievably what are we supposed to be doing with this? Because we had so many outside. We were producing a ton of content in house. But then we were also going outside to exterior creators and trying to get their stuff just to see what would stick, which I don't know if you know anything about YouTube, but the core tenet of YouTube is not 50 different things on your channel at one time. It's, hey, I'm going to do this one thing over and over and over again. And we didn't really have that knowledge. It was Tim that brought that knowledge to the table. And he kept telling us, we need to have more of a cohesive sort of focus for this. And we were like, or more Peter Pan versus Link. Because
so that started
really
Up at Noon, which was Greg Miller's interview show at IGN. And so from there, we met you, and you were showing me these videos, and I was freaking out because I'm like, holy shit, first off, you're super cool and talented. Second off, I actually know what this is. So that's awesome. But then a couple months later, after VidCon, you hit me up, and you're like, dude, you should get her on Up at Noon.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that because she's awesome. And then I hit up Greg, and I'm like, yo, we're going to do this. It's cool. And we're trying to schedule it out, and it ended up not working. But you were like, dude, you really should try to get her. It's not just YouTube videos. She is Black Widow's stunt double.
Yeah.
In Captain America Winter Soldier. And I was
one of
like,
them.
what the fuck?
Yeah. That's wild to me. That is, how does something like that come about?
Honestly, it came from YouTube videos.
Was it?
Because the internet is so powerful now. People see you on YouTube. That's the best way to promote. So people started seeing me on YouTube, doing my action videos. I started getting more and more work like that.
Cool, Greg. Yeah. Real quick, can you pull up the first video I sent you, the Amy versus Many?
While you're doing that, Cool Greg, if you didn't know, this is the GameOverGreggy show, where 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table.
Sometimes 3.
Oh, God, I missed
Sometimes
it.
3. Most of the time 3. Not your fault. It's okay. I threw you for a loop there because we do it randomly. We're all bringing topics of conversation to the table for your amusement. Of course, today it's probably gonna be a little more freeform. Today, I want to talk about martial arts. She's into health. We're doing all sorts of fun stuff like that.
She's into health.
Well, I'm just saying one half of this side of the table is into health.
It's true.
Of course, if you guys are watching this right now live, that's because you've backed us on Patreon at the $1 above level. We love you very much for that. We did the live show, the pre-show earlier. We're going to do a post-show after this. It's a really great value for $1. But I'm telling you right there, if you want to up that by $49,
and you probably do,
ladies and gentlemen, give me this one because it's that's the one you get.
Better?
This is the one you get for this Patreon. If you're on games, you get that one. You get a signed, autographed, exclusive, one of a kind, smells like cherries. Only this month only, and no one will ever take a picture of me again of the champ. It'll be a personalized, autographed message that will probably bash either Kevin or Andy in it.
Asterisk, not all of this is true, but some of it is.
Look it. Do you think people are going to hold me to this? Do you think this is the words coming out of my mouth will be remembered and forever immortalized on podcasts?
Well, I think my favorite thing about it is that you're going to have to sign all of these, and you are going to put horrible messages or draw pictures of Kevin.
Let's put it this way: if I have just an inkling that your mom or dad might see this, I'm going dark. It's going perverse. It's going to be bad. I'm going to be like, thanks for the heroin. Love, Nick.
Oh my God.
P.S. Hope your mom sees this.
Straight to it.
P.S. Hope your mom sees this.
Before we get to the first topic, which is just probably a continuation I'm sorry to interrupt you. We do have two amazing Patreon producers today to thank. Thank you to Warren Moore and Tom Bach, the venerable Tom Bach, as we call him. Thank you guys for your support of the show. We love you very, very much. Of course, if you guys want to be supporters on Patreon, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny. And we have a whole smorgasbord of places you can support us.
Good use of smorgasbord.
You know what? I got it because of Charles Jacobson in the chat. He's from Denmark. This is how my brain works. I went to Denmark. They have food called the smorgasbord, which is where that term actually came from. I thought it was just some willy-nilly flippity-floppity term that Americans use. No, it's an actual open-faced sandwich, and you can get multiple different smaller ones and eat. It's so freaking good. So good. Go to Denmark, everyone. Stop watching.
I would love to. That's one of the places I want to go.
It's great.
Especially now from the smorgasbord.
Yeah, well, I got that great smorgasbord. I'm not saying it
Nick,
right, by the way.
How do you spell smorgasbord?
Oh, Christ. I'm not even going to try.
Give me a shot.
There's an S. H-S-C-A, I don't know. S-H-M-O-R board? I don't know.
Board.
Well, I'm not saying it right. In Danish, I think it's different, but we call it the smorgasbord. It's like smorg something or other. All right, let's get back. That's enough about me.
That's enough about
That's enough about me. Let's talk more about me.
Cool, great.
Let's watch this video.
Bring this up, please. This is one of the first videos I saw you in, and this is probably the most viewed one, I would say, the most popular one.
Yeah, it's got a lot of views. It was with 1,000 Pounds Action Company, who I did most of my YouTube action videos with. Awesome team. They all work in film now. We all went different ways, and
it's a great looking gym.
Awesome people.
Where's the space?
This was in the Valley. This gym no longer exists, but it's now called Jam. A lot of stunt people go there. So this was
you just jumped up, double kicked with someone, and then landed on someone else. That was impressive.
As you do.
As one does. Yeah.
So do you think this was the video to kind of put you on the map and get noticed by a lot of the bigger guys?
Yes, definitely. Because this video actually got me my first audition for my film Lady Blood Fight, which is on Netflix. It was my first leading role film, and it was because of this video. So
you guys make this video, and you're just like, this is fun. This is something I do. This is something I legitimately do for fun.
This was actually for Jace Hall and Stan Lee. We were creating a concept, and they wanted a previs, and this ended up not being the previs we used for anything. The concept went nowhere, but this came out of it, and we finally released it.
Jace Hall.
We worked with
Jace. A show on Start.
Yeah, the Jace
alongside Up at Noon.
He did.
Oh,
it
was Up at Noon, Ultimate Fan Fights, and the Jace Hall show.
Yeah, and Cheap Cool Crazy, and a few other things that
Does he still do a Jace Hall show?
No.
I don't know. I'm not even sure. I don't know. I don't know much. The thing about when we worked with Jace was that I didn't bring him in. No one internally brought him in. He was brought in by just one of the other producers that we had working that came externally. So he would just deliver the stuff.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, we'd have a phone call with him. We're like, hey, Jace. He's like, hey. And that was it. That was pretty much all the content we had with him.
Eliza Dushku was in the first episode.
Something like that. Yeah.
It was weird.
It was a weird time. It was the Wild West, man.
It was a very weird time.
It was because we just had.
Times, it was the worst of times.
Well, yeah, it was weird. That was back in the Wild West YouTube. Now you can't say anything. You know what I mean? Now I can. Now they're just, freedom of speech. You know what I mean?
Where are you going with? How is this jumping from that Eliza Dushku to this?
Is the world more sensitive now?
That's not what I'm talking about. I just saw it. It doesn't matter. It's a stupid joke.
The NASA thing?
What's that?
Tell the NASA story.
Oh no, not the NASA story. I was reading Tube-Filter before this, and YouTube shut down a bunch of channels that had to do with some Iranian. It doesn't matter.
Tell the NASA story.
The NASA story. It was something that I saw. Where did I see this on? I think it was Instagram. I think it was Rogan's Instagram. If you go to Joe Rogan's Instagram right now, you can see this. It's a Twitter thread of this woman who got an internship at NASA and was so excited about this that she took to Twitter and in all caps said, "Everybody shut the fuck up. I just got an internship at NASA." Obviously overjoyed at this. This is supposed to be a positive message, but done with some expletives. Gets a response from an older gentleman who says language. And she says, "Go suck your own dick and balls. I just got an internship at NASA." And he responds, "I'm the head of the special counsel that oversees NASA, and I'm letting you know this is probably not a good thing to do." And then there's this whole thing, and people have picked up on this, obviously. And it's supposedly... A lot of people threw hate at this guy. A lot of people supposedly he helped her try to keep the internship. She has lost the internship. I don't know if she's going to get it back. I looked on her Twitter before this started. She said, "Hey, I might get the internship back."
Okay.
It's not that she was basically like, "Stop throwing hate. This is not that big of a deal. We're gonna be okay."
Hey, dude, talk shit, get shot though. You got to be careful who you're saying things to.
It was just excitement, right?
It's excitement, but it's also it's excitement, but it begs the question of like, if you are working for NASA, how should you have to conduct yourself in a certain way? Which is, again, we're peeling back layers here. Should you have to conduct yourself on your own personal Twitter account? It's a murky territory, right?
Yeah, but it's not a murky territory in any circumstance to tell a higher up to suck your dick and balls.
Well, that went a little too far.
I don't think she knew who he was.
Well, no, she definitely didn't know.
That wouldn't protect you.
Right.
I didn't know who he was.
Yeah. I'm sorry, officer. I don't want that ticket. I'd like you to go suck your own dick and balls. Oh, you're a cop? Oh, shit.
I didn't see the
I didn't see the badge. I was too high.
Right?
This is crazy.
Too many drugs in my car.
I feel like this is what they call a teachable moment, right? Where I feel like how I'd like to see this shakedown is they give her the internship back. She realizes, all right, maybe I was a little overzealous and maybe I should tone it down a little bit, or maybe not, but I don't think this should be necessarily like a fireable offense.
Yeah, if anything, it should be a lesson to other people.
Maybe don't do this, but come work for NASA because you're clearly qualified enough to have got an internship. Hey, you know what though?
Yeah, dude.
You can be a space cowboy. You're going to say occasionally you're not going to say a fuck or suck your own dick and balls.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. If I'm a member of Space Force, which I fully intend to be, when and if our president gets off his duff and maybe may or may not goes to jail and forms Space Force, I want to be able to say yippee-ki-yay motherfucker every once in a while.
Yeah.
But you see, if you're listening to me, I'm doing the guns. I'm doing the.
As soon as she gets the internship back, though, she's just gonna be like, "Fuck yeah,
yeah,
I got
fuck yeah." I would love that.
This shit.
Fuck yeah is okay. It's the insulting. Being excited about it is one thing.
That's true.
Just like,
but if she had the guts to come out, get the internship back, wait one day and be like,
and bring it back.
Fuck yeah, I got the internship back. Everybody suck your own dick and balls. Everybody go suck your own dick and balls. They gave it back to me.
Oh, I'm into it.
That would be the best.
Oh, man.
That would
We're
be the best.
We're all human, right?
Yeah.
We are. And that's the thing.
There's
Well, let's put it this way. I am the last person that gets to criticize anyone for anything they say or do on Twitter, camera, or just in real life at a Starbucks. Yeah, no, I'm not the person that.
Did you say at Starbucks?
Anywhere. It doesn't matter. Who the fuck are you? I yell at Starbucks employees every once in a while. I'm not proud of it. I've gotten better. It hasn't happened in a few years. Hasn't happened in a few years, but there have been some incidents where I take my Starbucks very seriously. As you know, right when you guys walked up, I was lamenting about how I don't like the change in lids.
Did you ask for the regular
No,
lid?
this is the classic lid 1.0.
Right.
That they just happen to have left the West Portal
you.
Starbucks.
They left it for you.
But I don't like this weird sippy cup lid.
Little sippy cup thing, man. R.I.P. straws.
It's because I don't like change.
Fair enough.
And they say the only thing inevitable in life is change, and that's true. It's true, but I don't like it. Doesn't make me like it at all. So dialing it back, to use a parlance that only Greg Miller uses. When did you start doing all of this stuff? Like, have you been fighting since birth? Did you come out and the doctor goes?
I was in a
and
ring.
the doctor goes to cut the umbilical cord, and you just strangled him with it. And then as you looked into your mom's eyes, you're like, "This is what's gonna happen.
I'm here.
I'm gonna do this to you. Don't fuck with me."
Hi, mommy.
Ran away. Like never saw her again until she popped up on YouTube 18 years later. No. So what do you train? Like what disciplines have you trained?
So
in?
my dad was my first instructor. He was a 5-time world kickboxing champion, and he taught the progressive system, which is Kempo, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, which I know you train.
I do.
And Kung Fu and different styles like that. And then once I got to LA, I started training more like tricking and flipping stuff that looks cool on camera, because not all like real martial arts looks good on camera.
No,
it actually doesn't look good.
You watch a Muay Thai kickboxing fight and it can be kind of boring. Jiu-jitsu is the worst offender of this. If you watch an actual like jiu-jitsu fight, a lot of people, if you're not deep in the know of what's going on, you're going to be bored shitless.
Yeah, that's why like at UFC fights when people are on the ground, the crowd's like, oh, this is terrible. What is this? You know, because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It can be very hard to watch. That's why I really like watching UFC fights at home, because you hear the commentary of like, you'll have like the commentators, Rogan, or like lately we were talking about Daniel Cormier commentating. He's a great wrestler. So you'll hear them and you get a little bit more of an education. Because even for myself, I've only been doing it for a couple of years. So I don't know what you're supposed to do. I know it's a bad spot. I can identify that he's not in a good place. Yeah. But I don't really know, like, wow, how do you get out of that? What's the escape? Or like, what would you do, especially if someone's punching you in the face? Yeah. So that we are like old enough to stand up and your dad's like, here are the kickboxing gloves. Are we talking American kickboxing or Muay Thai?
American kickboxing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
American kickboxing has its own like special charm.
What is that?
It's just, they used to wear the big pants. Do you remember that back in the day?
Oh yeah, my dad definitely.
Does he still wear the big pants?
Her dad had the biggest pants.
Oh, he had the biggest pants.
Yeah. There was a time in my life where I wanted to do kickboxing, but I wanted to do American kickboxing because I think you're actually not allowed to throw elbows in American kickboxing, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely not allowed to throw elbows.
So Muay Thai, you can use your elbows and you can actually, which is very dangerous, and you can cut people's face open. In American kickboxing, you can't. But back in the day, they used to have the big kickboxing pants. And when I was a kid, and I'm sure you'll empathize with this, I used to love putting on the bottom half of my gi, shirtless, because I was ripped back then when I was a little kid. I went to karate, and you'd wear the pads, which were these thin as you could possibly believe, little like styrofoam like gloves that you'd wear, and I just liked the sound of the Velcro. And
like the little sparring?
Yeah, the little sparring gloves with like, remember, but you also put the sparring feet on.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, you wrap those around, and they were not very useful if you kicked someone in the head.
No, because they slip like right.
They slip right off. They protected your foot, but I don't think they protected the person's face at all if you accidentally roundhouse kick someone. But it was still fun. But I had this image of myself, and I think it comes from I don't know what movie it came from. It wasn't Kickboxer, because that was he was wearing like, he was more Muay Thai at that point. Maybe it was like Best of the Best. Or some, a lot of the, or maybe it was Chuck Norris, because Chuck Norris did a lot of kickboxing. It was probably Chuck Norris,
because he was very like kickboxing, karate.
But he used to be like, you know, he had that kickboxing stance where he'd be like this way, and he had the gloves on, and the gloves were just oh god. You know, funny about him, I just read randomly that he is a 3rd-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. He has like, is he really? 6 black belts. I didn't know that. Which I did not know. I saw a picture of him on Jean-Jacques Machado's Instagram, and he was like Throwback Thursday or Throwback what TBT, whatever. It's usually Throwback Thursday, right? But people use it to throw back to the 80s or whatever. He's like, throw back to the time where I gave Chuck Norris his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I was like, what the fuck? And I looked it up, and he's a 3rd-degree black belt in that. Whoa. Black belt in judo, black belt in like, he has like 8 black belts. Which I'm like,
Chuck
that's
Norris.
That's a bad Norris, motherfucker.
Dude, he did it. He did the thing.
He did.
He was like the original meme.
No, he was. Yeah.
It's great. I love it.
What was it when Chuck Norris jumps? He doesn't jump. He pushes the world away or whatever. Like those. Those are the best.
They were the fucking best.
Those are the best.
So the fight scene we just saw, a lot of that, like how much are you actually hitting people, and how much of it is kind of like pro wrestling where you're like just trying to build the illusion of hitting people?
The point is not to hit each other, or else you're not going to make it through the whole scene.
You're not going to get a second take if you knock
you're not
going
to have a very long career. Sometimes it's mainly wherever the camera is. It depends on what the camera does. Because
how close are you getting?
To what?
Throw
people
a fake punch at me right now, but don't hit me. How close do you have to get to make it look real?
If the camera's behind me, we can have all the space in the world.
Okay, so you're not going to see, because there's no depth.
Exactly.
Right. But what if we're in profile? What if we're dead on profile?
Then I would have to punch across your face to make it look like there's a connect.
So you have to come this way?
Yes.
Okay. Are we leaving half a foot?
This way is nice too.
Okay.
So if my arm comes all the way around like that, then the camera would see it. So there's like a string from the hand to the camera.
I saw myself do that, and I'm like, I'm a natural. You saw yourself get hit? I'm a natural.
1, 2, 3. Ready?
Go.
Why do you do a little fucking Prince scream?
That's how I react, man. That's why I'm not very well liked in my jiu-jitsu gym. They're like, Nick, every time someone arm bars you, stop screaming like Prince. On top! They don't like me. I am a guy that's probably way too. I'm too goofy for any martial art. I'll be honest with you. It's my natural stuff. It's my defense mechanism.
Yeah, that's the best defense. It's just comedy. Being a goofball.
There's two defenses that I'm trying to specialize in. One being a goofball, and two just playing possum. Just go dead. Go limp. Like that's yours. Whenever I want you to just go
the best possum ever.
Just limp.
Yeah,
we got to drag him. Like
try to drag me. I dare you, motherfuckers.
We'll leave him.
Cool, Greg. Bring up the next thing.
Let's watch.
Because that first video led to now. This is your stunt reel from 2016. So even this is a little out of date. But there's a couple things I want to bring attention to here.
All right.
Hit play. So there you are, doing cool stuff, kicking people and fucking them up.
Doing what I do.
You are Spider-Man in the new Spider-Man. You're Black Widow doing the thing in Winter Soldier. You're Nadine. What the hell? This is like real shit.
That's wild.
This is like real shit. I was them for those scenes. I'm not Spider-Man fully. I did like a couple motion capture performances for Spider-Man and several other characters on Spider-Man that we can talk about. But yeah, I motion capture a lot of different characters.
How does that work with Spider-Man? I mean, it's just like a film where we have this choreography we're going to teach you, and there's I assume some wire work involved. Something like that?
For the video game?
Yeah.
Actually, we have no wire work whatsoever because the main motion capture actor who's motion capturing for Spider-Man, his name is Ross Constant, and he can flip like 3 times in the air without putting his feet down. So he doesn't need wire work. And mainly what we're doing is
sounds like a show off.
A lot lot of his movements.
Sorry, he can flip 3 times in the air.
Oh, you should see videos of this guy. He's ridiculous. Like he jumps in the air
jump?
and yes,
Greg,
with one jump.
Google Rick Ross. What was his name?
Rick Ross?
Rick Ross.
Yeah.
Rick Ross. Is Rick Ross?
Okay.
What was it? Ross Constantinople?
Ross Constant. ROSS space KOHNSTAM. Something like that. He's ridiculous.
He's not the guy that does the voice for Spider-Man.
No, the voice is
we met him.
Yuri.
Yuri's
okay.
He's
awesome.
a nice guy.
Lowenthal.
Yeah, he's incredible. But yeah, that's
So why do they need to bring you in then if they already have someone who's doing some of the stuff? Just because you can do things physically that he can't?
Yeah. So in the case of Spider-Man, again, I only did that for a couple days, but for me, it was like they wanted to get maybe a little bit more female-oriented movements because men are usually more powerful.
Men can't do whatever a spider can, just most of the things.
I feel you.
So I was a little more flexible, and I had different types of movements because of my background. So they wanted to just blend that in with everything. But I wasn't
really cool.
mainly there for that. I did a little bit for Silver Sable and like several different characters on that game. Because a lot of times when you come in for motion capture, they're just like, okay, this is what you're doing. You're going to do some Mary Jane. You're not going to do Mary Jane, but you're going to perform as her.
Got you. Okay, thank you. I like how she looked at me to clarify that.
I did. I was like,
thank you for the clarification. I was wondering. Okay.
It's like, I got to be careful.
That's where my dirty mind goes.
Yeah, so I played several different characters on that. And it's just dependent on like what my background is and what they want for the day.
Is this like a dream come true for you? Is this like what you like?
Love
it sounds like a cool life.
Motion capture. Like it's
Get a little
honestly
closer.
the best.
Kevin's getting mad at you. Okay.
Kevin, are you mad at me?
No, he's gone. Actually, probably just eating lifesavers in the back,
Did you
fixing
find him?
computers.
Yeah. Let's try that. Marvin Ross.
Who's Marvin Ross? Wait, how do you? Did you mean? Click on the one that says. Did you mean Ross Constantine, stunt actor?
Maybe try going to YouTube first.
Mm-hmm.
No, I absolutely love motion capturing in video games because it's so different than doing stunt work or acting on film. Because you could be so much more creative. You don't have anything to play with besides like some pads and people. Yeah, do the 2017 stunt reel. This guy's ridiculous. He was also Deadpool and several things. He does a lot of motion capture as well. So yeah, there's some Spidey stuff.
So you were in Deadpool as well, right?
Yeah.
Deadpool 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do in those movies?
Deadpool 1, I did some motion capture for Gina Carano's character.
Oh, cool.
And then Deadpool 2, we did a lot of previs stuff. So I wasn't on set for that. But a lot of motion capture. That's where I actually started in motion capture was Deadpool.
Huh.
And then it got into like the video game stuff, which I'm in love with. Like video games and working on a video game set as opposed to a film set is very different. It's not so much of a hierarchy. It's more like communal. So I really love that and the people there.
There's probably less ego on the video game set as well.
Yeah.
So the video game stuff.
He just spun like 3 times. Look, 1, 2.
Oh my God.
1, 2, whatever. He's ridiculous. So they don't need wire work because of
See, I could do the first part of what he just did. That
Where you kick off the thing.
Yeah.
I do that every once in a while.
I wouldn't
just to
look
prove
good
that
doing
I
it, but
still
I could
got
do
it.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, so he's the main guy that
he has to, what does he have, a pretty heavy gymnastics background for all that
it's
stuff?
It's martial arts tricking. It's XMA. So it's called extreme martial arts. It's not like a realistic approach to martial arts. It's just like a performance-based martial arts. Yeah.
That's cool. I am in.
Cool.
Yeah, you should do it.
I should do it, yeah.
You should totally do
it.
My second coming.
I will pay for whatever classes you need.
Do you want to take a class right now? We can.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's
like right now.
No, not right now. Let's
Is
not
there
do
a
that.
class in the city that we can send to?
There's a class right now. Right here.
Class happening.
Right
you're
here.
going to
Right
teach
now.
him.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I want to watch this. I think, audience, do you want to watch this? They all said yes. There it is.
What would we do?
I don't know.
Shit.
We'll
like, what's the like? How do you start in this? This is always the thing. You see people, right? You see the gymnasts. You see people doing flips, and I think to myself, once you get the first back flip out of the way, I have to imagine it's a domino effect where you're like, okay, I've done it, so I've proved to myself that I'm not going to drop myself on my head. Similar to the Spider-Man that we watched, the clip we watched in the morning show. You weren't there. It was A&E. I'm sorry. Now, right, where the guy knocks himself. He tries to run up the wall and just knocks himself out.
Yeah.
My question is, and it's the same with like extreme like motorcycle stunts and shit like that. We're like, how do you get to the point where you can do that? What's the first step that you go, this is the oh shit moment where every part of your body clenches up and you're like, and then you do it and you're like, oh, I did it, you know? Like with gymnasts,
then you're like, now I'm gonna add a spin to it.
Yeah,
now I'm gonna add some variables.
I'm gonna let go of my motorcycle in the air and like Captain America, and then come back to it.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's the mentality. I think it's starting at a young age and being surrounded in an environment that like, you know, looks at that a certain way. Like if I started martial arts later in my life, I would be like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this on my body.
What year did you start again? Like when you were like?
When I was like in my career, literally, I was kicking pads and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
My dad really wanted me to be in it, and then I started seriously when I was like 6 years old. So I can imagine somebody starting gymnastics at like mid-20s. It would be a totally different mentality than starting gymnastics at 8 when your body's like flexible and malleable and you don't have all these fears.
Yeah.
I think that's a really big part of it.
And also your body heals
and your body heals
faster.
A lot better.
Like Wolverine shit.
Yeah, no, I mean it's true. Trust me, starting jiu-jitsu at the age of 37 was a mistake. Not a mistake.
You look at it differently, yeah.
You do, but you have to look at it. You have a lot more at stake, right? Like I can't get like severely hurt. It will suck. Yeah. Like that will not be good. But if you're a kid, what else do you have to do?
Yeah,
you get hurt and you're just like, you're gonna watch cartoons anyway. Nobody cares about your schoolwork.
I think about the stuff that like me, my brother, and Kevin used to do, like with a skateboard, where it's like we're gonna sit on this skateboard and go down a slide.
Yeah.
It's like,
because it's fun.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Now it's like you could not pay me an amount of money to even stand on a skateboard. No. I don't even want anything to do with that.
Exactly.
We've talked about this a lot, but I will say this: when I was a kid, I grew up in Riverside, California. What's up, Inland Empire? Yo. And we had nothing to do. We were bored. This is pre-internet. This is when there's only 5 channels on TV. My buddy had like rats. We thought it was the coolest thing. We used to jump off roofs.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
Oh yeah,
I did that
Why
too.
Why the fuck not?
With umbrellas and sheets.
No, we didn't have any of those. That would have been smart. That would have created some level of drag.
You just jumped?
Yeah, we just jumped. We actually would jump to see how far we could get.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, "Ow, that really hurt my knees. Let's do it again."
Yeah.
I mean, dude, so we used to, and we're from San Francisco, so we're like, it's straight up city. There's streets, there's cars going by. Concrete. It was concrete. What we did, me and my brother threw a mattress out the window.
Yeah, naturally.
And then would jump out the window onto the mattress as if this fucking mattress is going to stop the...
it beats
totally
the concrete.
logical.
What dumb ass kids,
Did you see that video that Kevin has on his phone?
What video?
Kevin, come show her this video. Kevin has a video, ladies and gentlemen, out there, of there's a construction site across from our office. And they, for whatever reason, and I can only assume it's utilized to take materials from the bottom floor all the way to the top floor. They have a pulley system that they just left out. So there is a rope and a hook and a pulley system just left out. Kevin, who I can honestly say is one of the most responsible / irresponsible people I've ever met, looks across the street and sees these kids, one kid pulling his younger brother up who's holding onto the hook. And this kid starts going 1 floor, 2 floor, like, almost up to the 3rd floor.
He's going so fucking high.
So high that Kevin, again, a person who does not mind crashing drones into everything, felt compelled to yell at these kids.
Step 1 was him filming it.
Yeah.
So
it's naturally going to make
the irresponsible side, of course, he's filming it. But then the next video is him being like, I had to go stop these kids. I had to tell them to stop. They're going too high. And I'm like, we're grown-ups now.
Yeah.
Did it work? Did the kids come down?
Yeah.
Were they like, I need to listen to
Kevin's
this guy?
very intimidating when he wants to.
Yeah.
He's very much a dad. He's going to be a great dad. because he's very much like, he's going to be the dad that's like, let's go play with fire, but then once you screw up, I have to yell at you. So, you know, the best part of that.
Kids, man, you'll just like throw yourself into the worst situations. I remember there was a playground we used to go to where there was a swing set, and of course people get on the swings and try to jump off as far as possible. One of these swings had a like metal fence, maybe like 10 feet, 15 feet ahead of it. And we would try to swing, have people push us so that we would jump over the fence.
That's just a dumb idea.
And when you stop and think about the physics of that, you could just fucking crash into the fence, land on the fence. Like, there's so many bad situations.
Say impaled?
You could have gotten impaled on the fence.
I mean, you could have gotten impaled.
I'm just saying, I just think you go, whoa, and then you just scissor the fence.
Just scissor yourself to death.
That's what I'm thinking. Either that or you do the Deadpool 2 thing where you accidentally fall, like snap your back, because that could happen as well.
But you don't think about that. You don't think about the repercussions.
Yeah, back then I didn't. But now, hell no. Hell no. I wouldn't even sit on a swing.
You know what I think about a lot? I spend probably more time thinking about than one ought to, is all of the head trauma I've had over my life. Because we didn't know that shit was bad for you. And like the amount of times I've been thrown or fallen down or knocked my head against things and just not given a shit. Like, would I be a different person if none of that had happened? Did you ever think about that?
No, I don't remember hitting my head against shit very often. I don't know what you were up to.
I just watched a video of you falling downstairs. Can you explain that bit to me?
Yeah, how do you
professionally fall downstairs?
Mm-hmm. The thing is, you can't really practice it. You just put a bunch of pads on whenever you can, and you have to be very physically aware through different, athletic things that you do in your life to just know your body and its mechanics, and make sure you're taking care of the proper areas like your head.
But at what point are they like, we should actually have a human being do this, and we can't have it be Scarlett Johansson? We need someone else to throw themselves down the stairs and not have it just be a mannequin.
I mean, because of the shot, right? Because the faces or the back of the person is coming right into the shot. It's fine to do a couple times. If I had to do that like 10 times, it would be a totally different story. But usually stair falls are done a couple times.
Has there been something that you're like, I'm not doing that?
He laughs. Yes, definitely. And the older I get, I'm like, okay, I'm going to not do so much of this because you can only do it for so long. But granted, the point of stunts is to have a safe team around you that doesn't get you hurt, and you make sure that you know what you're doing so that you don't get hurt. But there's been things where I'm like, okay, I don't want to fall off of that. I don't want to fall onto that, and I don't want to be lit on fire anymore. I have boundaries now.
Excuse me.
We're going to have to rewind a little bit.
Now.
I don't want to be lit on fire anymore. Now, to say that statement means that at some point in your life, you went legitimately, as the fire extinguisher stopped, this is the last time I will ever let someone light me on fire.
What did that look like? Were you in one of those big like costumes?
They just put the greasy stuff all over you. You're like, ah! Like in Deadpool 2, it's like, that guy's actually on fire. That's not CG.
Yeah.
When did you have to get lit on fire?
It was just for practice. So, like, as a stunt person, no, I know, guys, hold up. As a stunt person, you need to know like your boundaries and if you can actually do this. Because if you go on set and say like, yes, I can do this, and then you freak out, you're gonna look terrible. The coordinator is gonna look terrible, and you're probably not gonna work anymore. So it's like you have to make sure you're comfortable with certain things before you do them. You
have the hardest job on set.
No,
I can honestly say that. I've worked on sets before as a PA. My job was nowhere as hard as this. At no point did anyone go, Nick, today is when we start lighting you on fire. And I'm like, I gotta go smoke a cigarette and quit. I'm gonna quit. Is that cool?
I think PAing is much more difficult, actually.
PAing is much more difficult
for me. I
mean, it depends on the set. We're overgeneralizing here, but I think from a mental standpoint, though. Like, this is what I often think about, because a lot of people don't think about the mental, how the mental acuity you have to have, the mental strength you have to be able to do this stuff. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, you're tough, you can fall downstairs. It's another thing to be like, there's a lot that goes into this. Like, this is a dangerous profession that you're in, right?
I wouldn't be doing it with people that I don't trust.
Right.
Like, it's not as dangerous as you may think, because there's a lot of science, there's a lot of practice, there's many years of this being thought out, So it's more of like the mental challenge of getting over something and being like, oh, this is a good challenge.
It's just interesting to me that, like, I understand, there being the science around the falling down the stairs, and you're like, I'm going to do that. But then you also need to light yourself on fire. It's like, I feel like,
well, because of the scene where they're like, it's not enough to fall down the stairs. How can I could just see the director. How do we take this up? Up? What if she ran through fire beforehand and fell down the stairs into a pit of snakes? Yes.
It's just crazy that it's like, I just feel, so there's coordinators then that kind of have to understand this wide breadth of different types of stunts and the science behind each one of those, and then they teach you?
Kind of. You have to know what you're doing before you go on set, and then if the coordinator is not so familiar with, say, like wire work, then they'll bring on a special wire work.
Interesting. And then like team. so do you what do you specialize in? Obviously fighting
and acting, because I do a lot more acting now. Wire work, things like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
let's go to Black Widow, because I think that is the most like mind-blowing thing. When I first saw the scene of you on the highway chase, like coming down on the rope, and then when she lands and runs, like that's one of the most iconic Black Widow shots, I would say, in the entire franchise.
And you did that stunt?
So her main Scarlett's main double is Heidi Moneymaker, and there were I was also another double on that film.
Gotcha.
So we split up a lot of the work, and that was me coming down from the highway with the rope.
And then when you just keep running off, and we saw it a second ago.
Yeah,
but like that, you were on set. Do you meet Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah, so we have a lot of preparation. I was on that film for like 6 months, and so we have a preparation time where we train the actors and everything. And because when you're stunt doubling somebody, you have to understand how they're acting out the character. And it's nice if you've already seen the character, you know how she runs, you know, like if she's right-sided, you know, if she punches with her right side better than her left. You have to really understand the actor and the person to make it one character, right? Because if you're running a certain way, like an athlete, and she's running like totally different.
Yeah,
it's not gonna
combine. Look good together. Yeah.
So a lot of preparation with the actor, definitely.
That's insane. So you took direction from the Russo brothers.
They're so cool. Oh my God.
That's good to hear.
What I really liked about them is that they allowed the stunt team to create and do their job properly, and they just completely trusted us.
Well, what's crazy about this, and we kind of pinpointed this when we did the MCU in review, which you guys can watch right now, youtube.com. No, yes, that's kind of funny. There we go. We have too many different URLs that have slashes in them. Notice I stopped saying backslash, though, or forward slash.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I weeded that one out of my vernacular. One of the things that you notice when you do watch it, like Winter Soldier, was like the action really did. The choreography in that film really got taken up a notch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you mentioned obviously being on set with George St. Pierre. That everything in the beginning of that movie, where Cap lands on the boat, and we have it's such a fucking rad scene. And I think that's one of those like where obviously like Black Widow's sort of movement is that very, very fluid, same style that we saw in your reel, where it's like it never stops until the last person drops, which is really, really cool.
Oh, I like that. Never stops until the last person drops.
That can be your mantra from now on. You can take that from me, because mine would be it never stops until I get tie.
Yeah,
and then I'll sleep. So that's really cool. So let's talk about acting then. So you're saying you're doing a lot of acting. What are we recognizing you in? What are we hearing?
So I started doing some action films. A couple years ago, I had Lady Bloodfight come out with Voltage Pictures, and then I did Female Fight Squad.
When you fought one of the guys from the raid.
No, that was something else. That's called The Gate, and I fought one of the guys from the raid. His name is Chechup. He's this awesome Penchak Salat master, and we have this really cool fight scene. It's on YouTube if anybody wants to check it out.
Okay.
It's called The Gate.
Okay.
Yeah, so doing more acting now. I wanted to blend action and acting for the longest time, and it's really difficult to go from stunts to actioning.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's hard to join both worlds, but Jackie Chan did it. Michelle Yeoh, a lot of like action in the 80s did this. A lot of the actors were doing their own action, but now there's like insurance issues and all these things that we have to get past.
Doesn't necessarily seem to bother Tom Cruise though.
Tom Cruise is amazing. He does so many of his own
stunts. Did you see Mission Impossible Fallout?
No, and that's only because of MoviePass. I will put it on MoviePass.
R.I.P.
I'm not gonna get into that. Oh, really?
MoviePass. They're almost out.
Yeah.
They're on the way out. It's at the point. Let's just put it this way, where the doctor has to come to the family and be like, "We need to talk about
I'm
our
done. I canceled it.
We need to talk about our options." Did you?
I did.
You did?
And this morning I got AMC
stubs or whatever it is.
Subs or
A-list, whatever. Yeah.
That's
great, because you know what? I'll go with you from now on. Here's why. I do not like the way I was treated at AMC last time. I had to wait in the normal person line like a freaking plebeian.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Meanwhile, they're taking one person from my line, one person from the Stubbs line, and I don't like that. I actually was like, I had a fantasy where I'm like, I'm just going to go up there and leave $7 and take my own soda because they can't make me wait. And I didn't do it because I can't break rules.
It's true.
That would require me to break rules. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot what the hell we're talking about.
Where
did we go off?
Which Marvel movies were you a part of?
Deadpool 1 and 2, Captain America Winter Soldier. What else? Oh, Iron Man 2, 3. He's better at remembering this than me. He's like my resume.
What'd you do in Iron Man 3?
I just ran away from an explosion. Just another day in the life.
Was it just a day?
It was just a day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of films, it's dependent on who the coordinator is and what you're doing in the film. But sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's 6 months. So
that's crazy.
Totally all over the place.
And then for like the Spider-Man video game, or you also, what'd you do in Uncharted?
So Uncharted 4, I motion captured as Nadine, and then for Lost Legacy, I did some Nadine motion capture as well.
Were you the main motion capture for Nadine, or how does that work for video games? Because you're saying with Spider-Man, it was kind of split up between people.
Yeah, so most of the time it's very split up, but for Lost Legacy, I was definitely mostly Nadine. And then I did a cinematic fight scene on Uncharted 4 as Nadine, but usually when I go into motion capture, I do like 5 different things throughout the day. So.
And you were saying earlier you're working on Days Gone as well.
I did some
What
Days
other
on
games
Days
are you working
Gone.
on now?
Right now, it's just been Spider-Man. I've been doing a lot of motion capturing as a Black Cat.
So fucking
cool. No, I can't wait to play that game.
I love
I know
that
we're not allowed to
character.
talk about anything, and I don't want to say it, but
Yeah.
September 7th, right? Is that when that's coming out?
Yeah.
Also, I did a trailer for Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Did a trailer for it?
Yeah, the trailer for it. It was the first trailer for it. Basically, she jumps down from a tree. She fights a bunch of guys in this like forest area. That was all me. They created this crazy stage on the mocap stage with a bunch of bars, and I was like using actual ice picks, jumping off of boxes and connecting them to bars. It was such a rigorous
That's
day.
awesome.
It was insane. They had me climbing upside down on bars with the ice picks. Like, it was all real.
At any point where you just like, you could just flip the character, right? Like, I don't have to be doing this for real.
Well, they wanted to get the exertion. They wanted to go that extra distance and actually get like the exertion and how
I
the body
feel ya.
mechanics actually work when you're struggling upside down.
It's hard. Yeah. They don't work well.
It was ridiculous. No.
That's crazy to me.
So we've seen you get thrown downstairs. We've heard about you getting lit on fire, running away from explosions. Now there's ice picks. What are some other just cool things that you've done that like normal people probably haven't experienced?
I've jumped out of windows. I've jumped out of a few windows. I do like that. I've fought a lot of cool people.
Through the window?
Like through the window.
Glass breaking?
Yes, totally.
Do you ever just get like when you're done with it, you get that surge of adrenaline, and then you come home to him, and then you go, the only way I can recreate this is by hunting a human being. Like, is your life just all adrenaline chasing, or are you like, nah, it's cool, I'm
hiding in the closet?
Yeah. He usually doesn't like to see me when I come home. He just hides in the closet. Yeah.
It's scary. I get it.
No, you definitely get that adrenaline boost.
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster, or something that you have to perfect in one take with a lot of money on the line. That's a challenge to me, though. I love that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I would buckle under the pressure.
No, you wouldn't.
Oh God, yes, I would. How much is this shot costing us? Get someone else. That's what I would say. Like, I am absolutely not your guy. I know I look like Jon Favreau. I'm not doing his stunts. So do you actually go back and then do you train it all still? Like, are you still taking classes, or are you just like, I'm pretty good at this point. I know my shit. I don't need to go back into a dojo or into a gym. No,
I definitely keep training and make sure my body's right so that I can still do these things. Because if I get hired based off of something I've already done and I can't do it anymore, they're like, bye-bye.
So what does that look like? What does that training look like for you on a weekly basis?
So I'll do regular fitness with Zach. We'll do like an arm day, legs day, core, and then I'll do martial arts a couple days a week.
When's the fire day, though?
The fire day is non-existent now.
It's always Sundays.
Fire day
Sundays
is when I
is
get
God's
paid
day
for
is the
fire days.
Day.
Yeah.
I want extra for that fire. It's going to look real good.
But it's dependent on the film. If I have to do like for The Gate, I had to learn penchak salat. So I'm training hard with penchak salat for, every day. It just depends on what I'm doing.
What did you just say?
Penchak salat. It's an Indonesian martial art. So if you've seen The Raid, that's what they used.
Interesting.
Have you seen The Raid?
I have seen The Raid.
Have you seen The Raid?
Oh, yes.
I have not seen The Raid 2.
Me neither.
But I have seen The Raid.
It's good stuff.
The Raid 2 is just as good as The Raid 1.
I hear I hear the same thing. And I love that style, but I mistook that for being more of like a Muay Thai style, like more like a Tony Jaa style, but it is, I guess it's different.
It has some knees and elbows, but it's very different.
Head,
shoulders, knees, and toes.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So where do you go to find that in LA? Are there like every shop around the corner teaches that, or are you like, I got to go to one specific place?
I mean, there's a lot of dojos, but for me, I train with like a group of people.
Okay, so you guys just like have different disciplines, backgrounds.
This, you know boxing better than I do, and I know kickboxing, so let's mix it up.
What's up, Cool Greg? Oh, thank you. Can I just do water? Could you bring me one life? No, don't bring me a lifesaver. People don't like when I chew things.
But you could just suck on the lifesaver.
No, I can't because I talk a lot. I'll probably choke on it.
Christ. He's such a special being, isn't he?
I know, it's great. All the thought that goes into the lifesaver action.
It is
God,
Friday.
It's so Friday. It's been a long week. We've had a lot of travel. Tim and I came back from
busy,
we were at Cisco's wedding. last weekend.
I want to hear about that.
I want to talk about it so badly.
You have to wait.
We gotta wait for Greg.
Yeah. Tomorrow I'm doing something really weird that I'm gonna eventually talk about on the morning show, I guess. But my friend is doing her first ever bodybuilding bikini competition. She's never done this ever in her life, and she just decided about 4 months ago that she was gonna like go into. Her dad was a bodybuilder, and I mean she's just this tiny little girl.
Yeah, she's maybe like 5 foot.
Yeah, I would never expect her to go into this, but she was like, "I'm fucking doing it." She pretty much hasn't had food in the last 6 months.
That's terrible.
And I'm exaggerating, but like she's just like been very
clean.
strict,
very strict.
clean.
Yeah.
A lot of the like supplements and stuff and all that stuff. I have no idea, but like I'm sure there's science behind it, and a lot of just training specific things. But like it's going to be a weird experience. It's where they do the whole like.
Spray tan,
the spray tanning and all that stuff, and I'm like,
too much.
I gotta say, I'm not down, but hey, I'm gonna be here to support and see what's up.
There's always a point with the spray tan where you feel like you went one shade too dark,
or
on
like
the spray
5
tan.
shades
Maybe
too dark.
50 shades of.
When it's like that dark, rich brown and that person is white, there's an issue.
If it's debatably blackface, there's a problem.
That's
it's
not
just
a good look.
So the reason they do it is so that the muscles are more
you look
contrasted, right?
Contrasted, but it's just like, I mean, dude, just work out
Just
harder.
work out. That's the point, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But I'm fascinated by this, and I can't wait. I can't wait to hear this story when you come back, because it's a different beast, right? Like all these things are different that we're talking about, but that level of like dedication is always so impressive to me.
I couldn't do that.
Where like I can make it. I have been for the past 10 years been trying to arm myself with the habits that will allow me to be as physically fit and healthy and happy as humanly possible. And that's a big thing. That's a big priority for me. But most of that is because it's all about undoing all the shitty habits I have when I was a kid and didn't do any of this. So seeing people who kind of come in with that, the tutelage of a dad who can be like, oh, no, I'm going to skip you ahead. You're not going to develop these bad habits. I'm going to your dad did do such a cool service, because he said, I mean, maybe I'm sure at times it probably didn't feel that way. At times you're probably like, Dad, I don't want to train right now, and maybe stop being so hard on me. But my dad was always very much into music and not necessarily anything else. And so
music's amazing. What do you mean?
It's great. But then I ended up being in music, but he was never hardcore about it. So he was never you have to be they just kind of let me do whatever I wanted to do and trust me that I would be happy. And I was for the most part. It's cool.
My kid's going to be so good at sleeping.
And your kid's going to be great at
drinking LaCroix,
video games and sleeping.
LaCroix?
I'm pretty good at it.
I don't know why I got on that topic. I am spaced out right now. My brain is just mush.
You guys have been busy.
Yeah.
So can we talk in a roundabout way about why you were here today?
That's a no. That look is a
just
no.
The person. The only thing is the fact that the person that you were going to fight with.
I definitely can't talk about that.
Then let's not talk about it then. But it's really
but
freaking
it's something cool.
Then let's talk about something we can talk about, and that is Uncharted. So when you worked with Naughty Dog,
I love.
Did you get to work with Troy and any?
Yeah. So we had a cinematic scene where I worked with Troy.
He's the worst.
Nolan
right?
North. He's the worst.
Just the fucking
he's
worst.
not talented. He doesn't ever work. It's just
I hate him so much because he keeps showing up, and my wife keeps meeting him, and she keeps just saying. I think that her insult that she keeps leveraging against him is that he is so gorgeous, and I'm like, I think that's the wrong word, babe. I think what you mean is he's an asshole. That's what you're trying to say.
What I don't understand about Troy,
that's what you're trying to say, babe.
We've now known him a long time, probably 2011 is when we first met him.
Oh, yeah.
And every time I see him, he has a different hairstyle, and every time he pulls it off, every fucking time. It's
he's the only guy I know that can pull off a scarf and a fedora. I'm like, usually it's an either or, Troy.
It's either or.
Okay, you notice Nolan North walks around one or the other.
Yeah.
Usually neither, truth be told. Just throwing that out there. No, that's awesome that you got to be a part of that team.
Yeah, those guys are super talented. I love working with Naughty Dog and Insomniac. Those are both two of my favorites.
Yeah. They're good ones.
They
Definitely
are good ones.
Good ones.
I wish I could speak to it, but I've played the first Uncharted 5 times, the first hour of it 5 times now. Refuse to play anymore.
You're garbage
Really?
human being.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Well, at this point, it's just a funny joke, and it pisses Greg and Tim off.
He's
really not?
He's not big into video games.
Not particularly.
Every once in a while, jump.
Not particularly.
No,
I just realized that we have a new background.
Yeah, this looks great.
We do. We have prom, and we've got me,
I love that.
We got the Spider-Man. Show the Spider-Man there. All right.
I want to make sure that Spider-Man's such a thing. I want to make that a thing. I was saying before on the pre-show that I like that it's starting to transcend into an actual pop culture meme. Like before, because we have memes that are obviously within our community, and that's just, it is what it is. But usually, like, when we start a joke, it goes, it dies. But I honestly feel like we're getting real mainstream penetration with shirtless Spider-Man. I'm telling you right now, I feel like it could be on the level of an Obama Hope poster or like the Warhol soup cans. You never know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you right now, like that when I saw that painting of shirtless Spider-Man that Jake Johnson responded to, I looked at it and I was like, that's great.
Like
it was
sound again.
That's just
so good at it.
Listen, okay, it's how I react to things.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
All right.
Okay.
So
I like the shirts, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have the video games are cool shirt. We got the that's Porty right there. That's Greg's dog. So let's segue over though. You have a YouTube channel as well, right?
I do.
What are you doing over there?
So basically, I started a YouTube channel because I wanted a little more control. The industry doesn't always allow you control to do whatever you want unless you're a full producer.
That's shocker.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
So I started doing some fitness stuff, a lot of like martial arts related stuff, and then Zach and I actually started streaming on Twitch for Attack the Stack, which is his company now. We've been playing a lot of games on there. So
Zach, get on the mic. Get on this mic. What is Attack the Stack?
What is Attack the
Stack? I used to be in cybersecurity. I was overworked and unhappy. So one day I came home and I had this revelation, this epiphany, as I stared at my stack of games that was collecting dust slowly. I decided that I was just going to start living my life on my own terms and attack my life, attack the stack. So I loved games. I always have, and I just never really played them a lot for years while I was working. So we started this thing on Twitch where we're just hanging out with people. Amy's on sometimes. We just attack the stack of backlog games.
Oh, that's cool.
Games in general. Just hanging out.
Yeah. So
taking
trying
a cue from you guys, really. Just living life. It's like an ideology, kind of just having a good time.
What's fascinating to me about both you guys is you're both nerds, which I like, but you're also incredibly fit, which I also like. And you walked in, and the first thing you said,
which I also
well, no, but the first thing you guys said was you're doing keto.
Yes,
right?
Which
you're eating keto generally, yes, and which a lot of people out there have started doing as well. And one of the things I love whenever we have a conversation about health or about fitness, seeing people say, hey, I was inspired by that conversation, and then 6 months later, hey, we read a tip on the morning show today. Someone lost 75 pounds because they heard me talk about like my struggles staying healthy and losing weight and things like that.
Really?
And I freaking love hearing about that. It is amazing because I myself, I used to be like I think I topped the scales at 265 back in the day.
Really?
And for context, I'm 5'8", so that's like two of me. That's like a second person standing next to me walking down the street.
How did you make the change? That's amazing.
Keto mostly.
Really?
Well, back then they called it Atkins. You remember when the Atkins diet hit on, there are some very, very big differences,
yes.
And I don't recommend necessarily Atkins.
But that's how you started that.
That is how I started that. Yeah,
wow.
I was sitting at a cafe in Irvine, California with my two friends, and they were like, "Hey, we just read this book called The Atkins Diet, and we're going to start doing this. Do you want to do it too?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a follower, so yes, I would like to do that with you." As I'm smoking my 13th cigarette of the day, and I'm like, "What does it entail?" They're like, well, you can eat all the bacon, cheese, and mayonnaise that you want. And I'm like, I am in. Sign me up. And it was hilarious because it was the first time in my life where I ever thought like, I'll just try this for a week and see what happens. But this is back contextually in the time in my life where I was so fucking lazy. Where like if it didn't fall into my lap, I wasn't chasing after it. I
can't imagine you being lazy.
It's
so like, weird hearing old Nick stories.
I can't imagine that.
Zach and I were talking before because he was a computer science major at one point, or is in computer science, obviously. And I was telling him how he said you had looked at going to Irvine, right, for the computer science ICS program, information and computer science, what that stands for. And I was telling him that I went for that program and took my first class and was like, absolutely not. This is way too much work. I am not into this. And I segued over to being a film major. And then I put a lot of work into that, of course. But after I graduated, I just didn't have the tools. That's what I'm saying. Like, if those things aren't instilled in you at a very young age, for whatever reason, I had to do a lot of catching up, I felt. And they had all of my poor habits that sort of led me to being incredibly, incredibly unhealthy.
Interesting. I don't think you moving away from computer science necessarily means you're lazy. I just think you weren't interested.
That's true.
There's that as well.
But I strike an interesting. I think about this a lot. I really do spend a lot of time thinking about this, mostly in my car when I'm having theoretical arguments with myself. Where is the line drawn between hey, I don't like this, or hey, I should push myself to do this because maybe if I just do it a little bit more, I'd like it. Like there might be an alternate reality where young Nick Scarpino pushed through that first lab, really sat down with the book, read how to make Pac-Man, was like, you know what, this is fucking great. The light's gone off.
Yep.
It's clicked for me, and maybe I want to do this. And then maybe you guys were like, hey, that awesome Nick Hideo Kojima Scarpino game is amazing.
That's how things work.
That's how it goes, right? They just put him in the middle of it.
Just
put him right in the middle there, yeah.
But like, oh, that new Scarpino Metal Gear game is amazing, right? Because I'm like, I'm an idiot savant. I have figured out how to rule the world. I don't think so in computer science. I think you're absolutely right. I think that I just followed a passion, and that was the right thing. But I think about that a lot in terms of jiu-jitsu, which is martial arts are hard. Mm-hmm. Specifically when you are sparring, and in jiu-jitsu we spar every class. So there is a mental aspect of it that before every single class I go, oh, do I really want to do this? Like, do I really want this pain? Do I really want the anxiety that comes along with every role and just being in the class? And then every time I push through that, I'm just a little bit better.
So much better.
You feel so much better. And you're just mentally, you're just a little stronger. And I've never walked out of a jiu-jitsu, even the ones that are bad, where I'm like, I got my ass kicked.
Yeah.
Never walked out and not thought, I did something good for myself
That's
today.
the thing with workouts, though, too. But I think going into something like whether it's going to be good for you or not, or whether you will have some sort of interest, right? Because you've signed up for jiu-jitsu because you were interested.
Sure, yeah.
You've gone because you were interested.
But I signed up for computers because I was interested too. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the thing there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, but I feel like, especially like our generation of people growing up, there's this, if you're in the side of life that we are, this nerd culture kind of area, there's inherently an interest in computers and making, like every kid thinks they want to make, every kid that grows up playing video games thinks they want to make video games.
Yeah. And
then you hit a point where you're like, no, I don't. Like, I want to play them or talk about them or whatever. Yeah. You don't want to make them, but it sounds like when you're a dumb little kid, you don't understand that there's other jobs in video games besides making the video games, right?
That's probably very true for me. I grew up, I'm in the generation of people who grew up with dial-up modems where like we were like, this is a 14.4 modem, like this. I'm like, what does this do? It connects you to the internet. I'm like, let's dial this back. What's the internet? Like, what are all these things? I remember the days where you got the AOL like floppy disks, not CD-ROMs, the floppy disks. Okay, so this is like that's very true. Like I think to me, and you have to also put it in context. Like I entered college in 1998 when computer science was like the thing. Mm-hmm. People were like, that was when in 1998, this is before the first .com bubble burst. They were like, if you graduate with a computer science degree, you are 100% employable. Like you are going to get a job. It's going to be a great life. You're going to be driving Maseratis and everyone's going to like you. And I was like, yes, I like that life. And it just didn't vibe with me. Yeah. I couldn't push through it in that regard.
And here we are.
And here you are.
We are here doing nothing in the computer science field. In fact, so much so that if my computer breaks, I just hand it to Kevin.
And he fixes it. He always fixes it.
And that's
so wait,
works.
you were 265 pounds, you said?
Yeah.
And what are you now for context?
In context, I'm 180 right now.
Wow.
180 pounds. And like, where were you when we started Kind of Funny?
Well, ish.
So like 3-4 years ago.
Actually, when we started Kind of Funny, I was I weighed less because I was actually in like 178, 177. And you look back at pictures of me, I was really skinny because that's when I started doing paleo. And paleo, which is a form of ketogenic diet, keto is a weird term because people throw it around. If you actually, this is my understanding, you guys can both correct me if I'm wrong, but to actually do a keto diet, you have to get yourself into ketosis, which there are varying degrees of, and the deeper you go into that, the more you are kicking your body over to burning ketones, right? Like that is the general concept of like, hey, we're going to utilize fat and protein as our main sources, not so much carbohydrates, which is sort of what Atkins did, but no one in their right mind would say go on a ketogenic diet and dip mayonnaise into bacon into cheese and eat that right now. Correct? Like you guys don't eat bacon, I assume.
Oh, I eat bacon also.
He eats bacon. Yeah.
Oh, I guess I'm right then. I'm right on the money. There it is. No, so what was your question? You had a question that just now.
I was saying like how much you weighed then now.
Right. So I started paleo. That was one of the trends. So I went from Atkins to then just creating a calorie deficit to lose weight, and then to going and trying a couple other things like right when the Whole30 came out, paleo diet became a really big thing. I tried paleo and I went strict paleo. And strict paleo is lean meat is your main source of protein or main source of calorie. Mm-hmm. And then you can have some leafy greens, some vegetables, but they can't be high in carbohydrates. No oils, no fats, like minimize everything. And I was to a point where I would walk around and be like, how did I get here? Like I had massive brain fog. They called it brain fog, but I think it was just a huge calorie deficit that I just think I was depriving myself of so many calories, and I was not working out at the time either. I wasn't lifting or doing anything. I was just strictly like 2 pieces of chicken for a meal, and then feel sick, and then you drink a little coffee, and that was pretty much it. I got down like
I knew you then.
Oh my
god,
a lot of coffee.
And I was smoking cigarettes too, which makes it easier not to eat. So yeah, if you look at pictures, I have pictures on my phone when we started doing the animated show where I think it was Panda needed some shots of us for some stuff, and I'm like, I was really skinny back then.
Wow.
But I think I'm more fit now. I feel better now.
Yeah, you look better than you ever have.
Yeah,
that I've known you for sure.
And then, it's a process. My goal weight is around 165.
That's insane.
Really?
Yeah.
When was the last time
body fat.
You weighed 165?
4th grade, 3rd grade, something like that. I'm not kidding. Like seriously, it's part of the documentary. If you watch the stand-up comedy documentary we made with RT Docs, I had to go back and look at pictures of myself, and I always had this idea that right around 15 or 13 or 14, I started getting fat. But then I started looking at old pictures of myself. I was like, oh no, it was just you were born. You were skinny at one point, and then you found Twinkies, and it just kept going fat until I hit about 25, and then or 22, and I really started doing something about it.
Was it the Twinkies? Is that what did it?
It was the 80s, okay?
It was the 80s.
It was a different time.
It was a different time. The 80s was a time when people were just like, listen, Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries, that is a healthy breakfast. Let's just do 2 to 3 bowls of that.
Part
get
of
right back out there.
Done.
Get out there, be like that. Like, I don't know. You ever watch those old cereal commercials? Like, this is part of a balanced breakfast. Bowl of cereal, toast, butter, maybe some pancakes. Like, what the fuck is that breakfast?
Sugar.
Yeah, it's like
it's just all
way
sugar.
too much
terrible.
food.
So what got you guys into keto? Like, why are you?
He got into it first, actually.
So, yeah, coming from a computer science background and working in cybersecurity and IT before that, my work was very mental. So I got into nootropics first of all, and it was through that I found out about the ketogenic diet because, as we were talking about earlier,
can we hear him?
Yeah. Okay. There's a ton of mental benefits as far as like memory, mental acuity, focus that come along with the ketogenic diet. So that's where I started. And also I took one of those 23andMe tests, and I know you guys were talking about that a while ago.
Oh yeah.
Joking about
we haven't done it yet.
Dog saliva.
Oh, you need to do
that
it.
was hilarious, by the way.
About what?
You guys joked about sending in dog saliva and seeing if they could.
They did.
That's true.
Remember?
We did.
Oh.
I thought that was hilarious.
Did we say that?
We talk on camera for thousands of hours a month.
Dumbasses.
Forget what you
It
say.
was great. So
Yeah.
anyways,
It's horrifying.
I did
You
one
should
of
take
those
that,
and
by the
found
way.
out that I was like 11 times the risk for Alzheimer's as it runs on my father's side. So,
that makes sense.
Ketogenic diet's also great for warding off the diseases like that.
One of the main benefits of keto, and this is the thing that I've learned because I have a lot of friends and family who suffer from arthritis, so autoimmune disease, inflammation in the body.
Right.
One of the first things they'll tell you to do is they'll put you on a diet plan that looks a lot like keto, because they'll basically want to eliminate anything in your diet that can cause inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and I've seen a big change in people because of it.
Yeah, I've seen a huge change in my skin, my allergies that I've dealt with my whole life, as well as like hormonal issues. It's been the best diet for me, and I'm a vegetarian, so it was a little difficult at first, but absolutely doable.
So where do you get your protein from?
Well, you don't need that much protein.
I guess that's true. You need fat.
Usually,
that's right.
Yeah.
See, this is my brain still stuck in Atkins.
Because a lot
world.
of people ask that, like, oh, you're a vegetarian, so where do you get your protein?
Like
But I mean,
avocado.
there's eggs, there's cheese, there's things
Right.
that, and a bunch of nuts. But the oils are easy, the fats are easy. From
the avocados, things like that. Yeah.
A lot of coconut.
I read an article recently that I was like, I don't have time for this in my life. But someone was there was I guess a Harvard nutrition, like she's a professor of nutrition and health science, something like that, said coconut oil is pure poison and people should stop eating it.
Who said that?
I swear to God, it was. I saw the headline on Huffington Post and I read the first paragraph out of it and I forgot to go back to it.
That's
so
interesting.
I don't want to misquote this person, but they were saying the reason why I think it's just too high in saturated fat, like the ratio of saturated fat to like polysaturated fat, or I don't know my fat breakdowns, was too far for her. She was like, this is madness. Everyone's got to stop eating coconut oil. And I'm like, okay, I guess. But she recommends, everyone recommends avocados and avocado and olive oil and things like that.
My understanding about that whole argument, and there's a lot of science that still needs to be done in research, but a lot of the new stuff is really exciting. But my understanding is that a lot of that is in the context of an American diet or a high-carb diet, that foods high in saturated fat are dangerous. But when you remove the carbohydrates, the processed and refined carbs, not all carbs are bad, as Tim texted us earlier. We were going to bring him donuts, and he's like, well, we should be scary about the carbs. But the truth is, carbs are not
Tim's
the
definitely joking.
What did you say? You were like,
I don't know what I said.
You were like, most of us don't eat carbs, and the rest too.
Oh, she was like, you guys like donuts? And I said, don't worry about us. Some of us are afraid of carbs, and the rest of us should be. Thank you, though.
So carbs aren't the enemy.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, just particular carbs.
And obviously, we are keto. It's kind of the lifestyle we lead. But obviously, we're here in San Francisco hanging out with you guys, so we're having a ball eating whatever.
Yeah.
Including donuts right now. But
yeah, you got nasty on that burrito earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
I do that, but that's the thing. And we were talking about this when we went to order. I do the exact same thing sometimes, right? You can't.
You have to. You have to.
You gotta just
refuel.
do every once in a while.
Yeah.
But the way I looked at it, and the thing that's really helped me out, is that I don't look at eating keto or being in that lifestyle as a diet. I look at that as that's just the way I eat. And when I do have pizza, or when I do decide, like, fuck it, I'm taking down a bag of goldfish like it owes me money.
Goldfish?
Like, goldfish crackers are my thing. Like, Taco Bell, pizza, and goldfish crackers are the ones that, I love T-Bell.
He loves it so much.
Really?
Oh my God. Like, I go to T-Bell, I'm like, I'm like itching. And I look at the guy like he's my fucking dealer. And I'm like, you're going to give daddy his drug tonight. And the guy's like, stop calling yourself daddy to me. It's really off-putting. And man, let me tell you one thing right now. If you guys think, Nick just goes to Taco Bell, right? You get in your car, you're in the suburbs, you go to that nice Taco Bell down the street where Aunt May and Uncle Paul used to work or whatever. I put Aunt May together because it's Spider-Man, and I actually do have an Uncle Paul that works at Taco Bell. Don't look at me weird.
What is this story?
That's not the Taco Bell I go to. They have closed all those Taco Bells in the city. I go to the Taco Bell that needs the quarter they put in the thing, and you twist it to go into the bathroom with a sign that says,
"It's our Taco Bell."
Oh my God, it's the worst. And so, like, I go there and I'm like, I gotta really want this drug right now.
For reference to people, Nick drives so far out of his way, because there used to be a Taco Bell like 2 blocks from your house.
Yeah, I loved it. They turned it into a fucking poke bowl.
Yeah.
Which I have yet to go to.
You now drive so far out of your way to get your fix. It's kind of scary.
Like an hour? 2 hours?
No.
How far are we
10
talking?
minutes. It's 10,
15 minutes, but like.
But I used to literally be able to leave my house, walk 4 blocks, and there would be a Taco Bell right there.
That's where you started the addiction.
Like, there was one time, well, the addiction started literally when my Uncle Paul used to work for Taco Bell. We were a Taco Bell family. My Aunt Angela used to work there. My Uncle Paul used to work there.
It runs in the blood.
It runs in the blood. Yeah. It's no longer there in Riverside. I think now it's a Baker's, or maybe it's a Del Taco. No, I think it's a Baker's now. Baker's, shout out to Baker's. No, but this is how much I love Taco Bell.
Okay,
I have this thing in my brain where if it's my cheat meal, if it's the meal I'm going to do, I'm like, I'm going to do this fucking right?
Yeah.
And I go to Taco Bell, and every once in a while I'll be stupid, and I'll be like, I'm going to exercise some level of restraint. So I'm willing to get like 2 items at Taco Bell, right? And that's never a smart idea, because I get home and I'm like, I should have got that 3rd item. And one time I was like, you know what? I'm going back to Taco Bell.
Oh my God.
And I went back,
and
the
woman just get one.
Oh, I got like 2 more. Of course I did. And I got some cookies. And the woman that was working behind the counter, like, did you see this? You remember that movie Heat?
Yeah.
Follow me on this one. This is a walk. There's a scene in Heat where Ashley Judd's sitting on the patio, and she looks down and she notices that Val Kilmer's there, but she knows there's a whole room of FBI agents behind her, and she just goes like this and shakes her head and waves them off. That is the look this woman gave me when I came back to Taco Bell. She was like, you don't need this. You don't want this. Don't do it. And I'm like, here's the money.
You slipped her some more money.
Oh, I was like, listen here, drug dealer.
$2.
I don't pay you to tell me that I'm addicted to this stuff. I know I am.
I know we've told the story already on the morning show, but can I tell the story of me and Gia?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, God.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Nick, since I've known him for the last 10 years, like, he eats this keto diet. If it's not the keto diet, it literally is just some like, form of it's a chicken breast, and like, that's it. And it's always been very impressive because he's surrounded by monsters. But then he tells us these stories of Taco Bell, and it gets kind of hard to believe, where I'm just like, have we ever seen you eat Taco Bell? I'm not sure.
He's a different person.
And we start to question. It's like,
I hide my shame.
Is he just joking? Is he just making all this shit up?
No, yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Oh, I can tell. I see it in your eyes.
You know it. Yeah.
There's shame there. But a couple weeks ago, me and Gia had to go to Target, and we get in the parking lot and park, and I get out of my car, and I look over, and Gia's like, oh, it's Nick and Danielle. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, see, you know when you see people that you don't normally see in the wild?
Yeah.
It's really like when you see a teacher outside of school, and you're like, what are you doing
Yeah,
here?
you're like, you exist?
This is weird.
This is strange.
So seeing you guys, especially seeing Danielle, that's such a rarity in itself.
Yeah, she never comes out.
We see, we're like, oh shit. Like, we call your name. You guys turned around, and it was like that old meme of the dramatic prairie dog that's like the dun, 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 just fear in your eyes. And I was just like, oh, what the fuck's going on? And they try to like hide their bags. And I'm like, what's happening here?
Really?
And I am not making this story up. This sounds like I'm exaggerating. It sounds like I'm being hyperbolic.
This is a real story.
We look in the bag. Nick goes, it's our cheat day. We had to go. We wanted something. We wanted something good. They had a bag of Doritos. Mm-hmm. They had a DiGiorno's pizza.
Yeah. Three-meat pizza. Yeah.
There was cookies.
No, we didn't get the Oreos. We actually went originally to get. They had these strawberry Oreos that we had our eye on from like 2 months earlier because we keep lists mentally of like the cheat meals.
The day will come.
I was just like, put that on the shelf. We're gonna come back to that eventually. But they didn't have those, so we were gonna get regular Oreos because it's one of my wife's favorite snacks. And we walked by the Entenmann's aisle where they had the donut holes, the the glazed donut holes.
Like this.
Dude, I was like, let's just do it. Yeah. So we took down, and my wife, actually the reason we went was because I was like, I wanted DiGiorno's pizza, and she was like, I want some like crispy, low-fat wheat thins. Because she likes the low-fat ones because they're crispier. She likes the crunch.
Oh, nice.
And we just went ham.
I mean, dude, that bag was full. Like, there was so much shit in there, and those donuts were not in the bag. Nope. She tried to hide them. She tried to separately hide the donuts from the rest of the stuff.
She put them in her bag.
It's like, that was a step too far.
I was like,
really?
Well, yeah, what had happened was we were doing this 21-day challenge that we had done. We ended up actually extending it because we liked it so much because it included a 24-hour fast. And I wanted to start messing around with intermittent fasting just to see how my body will react to it and see if it could like kind of jumpstart that natural. Because a lot of people say like if you fast, I guess there's a specific fasting range where you can actually push your body into ketosis a little faster. And there's lots of benefits that people are saying now. So I was like, I'll try this. Why not? Like it's 24 hours. What's the worst that can happen? I won't feel well, and if I feel really bad, I'll just eat something and just sit down. So we did this 21-day challenge, and man, it was eye-opening. It totally worked. My wife, I think, dropped 10 pounds. I dropped 15 pounds. I was pushing the scales at one point because I started lifting heavily. And when I lift, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what I weigh. I'm just going to lift and see how much weight I can push. Not a good mentality to have. You should still watch your nutrition. I hit 200. I'm like, I got to do something. Actually, I think I was 197. Did this challenge, and it's basically like a pretty strict keto diet where it starts off and the first day is all veggies. So like actually you start with a 24-hour fast, then it's all veggies, and then you slowly work in protein, and then you slowly work in good carbs. So you work into the keto aspect of it, and then every meal that you're supposed to eat is a specific amount of your macros, basically, for mostly fat, but then protein, and then like just, hey, watch some veggies. And it worked, but at the third week, in order to reward, if you want to do a reset point, you go have a cheat meal.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't make it a cheat day. The thing literally says, don't go crazy and don't make it a cheat day. And we were like, or we can go to Target and just go down every aisle and get every piece of junk food that we'd ever want. And so we didn't do it that first time, but when we decided to do it again, that's when we're like, let's start it tomorrow. But before we start it, let's go. Let's have one more day in the sun.
One more run. Just one more little adventure.
You got to do it every once in a while.
What about you? Any 21-day challenges?
Jesus, I need to.
You could. I'll give you the pamphlet.
It's funny though, because you were talking about, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but like you just get so the diet versus lifestyle thing. Like everyone knows how much I love Coca-Cola and like how bad that's been for my life. But switching over to LaCroix, it's like I can hardly drink soda now. So when I do drink soda, it's like I have to be conscious and be like, I want soda now. It's not so much like, normally that's just a thing that I do. It's definitely like, I'm going to treat myself to this thing.
That's good, though. I feel like, and you guys, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that, but I feel like that's a better mentality to have.
Totally.
Than the staple is soda.
Yeah.
Absolutely. However, you need to try Zevia. They have full of flavored. Yeah, it's the same thing. They just have what type of?
It's instead of 2 ingredients like LaCroix, it's got 3. Its third ingredient is
stevia.
Stevia extract, which is a natural extract.
Natural sweetener.
I'm down to try.
The only problem I have with any sweeteners is that for whatever reason, my brain, it doesn't trigger the hormone that says stop drinking this, and I will just drink, like diet soda, for instance. I'll just drink diet soda all day. I won't have any water. Like I'll wake up in the morning and start craving it.
Yeah,
that's why I'm gonna stay away from it. Because I've been out there before. We did a podcast with a friend, Brian Altano, who works at IGN. And he was like, he had a tremendous amount of weight loss and really just a body transformation for him because he did like Whole30 and some other stuff. But we were both talking about like artificial sweeteners. And man, I got a lot of shit for that because I was like, don't eat artificial sweeteners; they're terrible for you. And then a bunch of nutritionists and doctors were like, hey man, like I appreciate the sentiment, but like aspartame has been very well researched. It's pretty safe for you. You just can't do it in the sheer volume that you were doing it at. And I'm like, there's probably something to that.
Now I heard
taking down a whole 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke in one sitting.
Probably not
a good
Everything
idea.
in balance. Now, I heard that there is a gene, correct me if I'm wrong, I heard there's a gene that some people have that actually they're able to taste the artificial sweetener more. Like they get that bitter aftertaste.
You just got to push through that. You push through it.
Push through it. Yeah, no, I don't know.
That's possible, though. That's crazy. But that's the other thing, too, is like...
Because I don't get that after bitter taste or anything. And some people do, no.
And that's the weird thing, though. Like we talk about, obviously, we're talking about intermittent fasting and things like that. And if you guys want to experiment with anything like that out there, do your research, read up on it, and pay attention to your body and how you're feeling, because this is stuff that I'm not a nutritionist. I don't necessarily know is good or bad for you. I've just heard benefits. I've heard George St. Pierre talking about it. I'm like, well, he's a world champion,
pretty amazing,
so maybe I'll give this a shot. But I'm sure his team does a little more research for it than I did. I was like, okay, I'll do it. That's all the research I did.
But you're also testing with your body to see what it likes, and
and seeing how it works. And I think one of the other things was I heard, everything goes in fads, and so I was listening to Kevin Smith talk, and he does intermittent fasting as well, but he does it more on, I think, a daily range. I think he does like 16 hours.
Didn't
or something
he do
like
a potato diet or something? Did you guys
he
hear
did
about
do
that?
something weird like that.
It was something weird where he had to eat potatoes every day.
He did that, but I'll get to that in a sec. One of the things he said about fasting was he was like, it's cool because it changes your relationship with food.
Yes.
So if you have a problem like I do with overeating, one of the things it'll prove to you is like you don't necessarily have to do 3 meals a day.
Right.
You do that 24-hour period or a 16-hour period where you go, I'm going to be okay if I don't eat today. And then when you eat the night, so it kind of like, it stops that control over you of like, I have to have food all the time.
Yep.
And so he said it was very positive for his mental state. The potato diet, I think, was something that a doctor put him on as sort of and I've heard another doctor talk about this, and I forget the guy's name, but he was like, I put my patients on this who have a really hard time with diets because I know, not because it's nutritionally sound, but because I know if all they eat is potatoes, it'll recondition the way they think about food. Like it's just, it'll go from looking as, making food look as, viewing food as a pleasure point to viewing food as nutrition.
Nutritional.
Because after a certain point, you will go, I don't want to eat any more fucking potatoes.
Right.
And then if you have to eat potatoes, you start looking at food as fuel, if that makes sense. And you can't really overeat on potatoes because at a certain point you're like, how many, because I'm not talking like mashed potatoes, I'm talking you bake a potato and that's all you're allowed to eat. And after the third or fourth one, you're like, I never want to eat a fucking
But couldn't you do that with like a nutritional food instead
do
of
with broccoli, yeah, but
yeah, like why not vegetables?
I don't know.
Like, why
I mean, again,
potato?
I don't know too much about that one.
I thought that was interesting.
I definitely don't recommend that people only eat potatoes.
No. But the intermittent fasting, you're correct. And any fasting, the first time I did like a 3-day fast was that.
You guys do a 3-day fast?
Yeah. We have done 3-day fasts.
That's crazy.
The first day, I realized how many times I'm going to the kitchen just out of like habit.
Yeah, I'm bored. Really like my thing is always on board.
Yeah, or like I have nothing to do, so I might as well just go to the kitchen because it's that time. But really, you don't need to. That was the biggest thing, is it changed my perspective on food, like you were talking about.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
And the second day of the 3-day fast, I felt like I was on the top of the world. I had so much energy. It was insane.
Ooh, see, I've only done the one.
That second day, you got to go to that second day.
How do you? So what do you take any precautions when you guys do these? Are you taking? You were mentioning not saline,
electrolytes,
sodium electrolytes, things like that.
Potassium.
What do you have to do?
So in order to successfully complete a fast, I would highly recommend that you go on something like a ketogenic diet, because if you try and just do it cold turkey from a high carb diet, you're not going to make it.
That's going to
your
suck.
body biologically changes when you go in that high. So one gram of fat has like over twice as many calories. It's 9 calories per gram of fat, as opposed to a gram of protein or carb. So you need to transition to that. So you start eating less through a ketogenic diet or a high fat diet, and then that helps ease you into the fasting period. And like the first time you ever do a fast, you can kind of just don't eat like whole foods, maybe just supplement your coffee or your tea with like butter or whatever, just to kind of ease into it.
Or like beef broth, you could do like beef bone broth.
Those aren't true fasts. But
sorry, did you say substitute your coffee with butter?
Sorry, substitute regular coffee, which is allowed on a traditional fast because it's non-caloric. Same with teas, even Zevia, like she mentioned. I'd recommend, if you're having a tough time on that first day, give yourself a little bit of calories, but something that's high fat, like MCT oil or coconut oil or butter, grass-fed butter,
like Kerrygold butter.
That'll kind of help ease you into it, because it can be difficult your first time. And maybe don't do 3 days your first time. Maybe
don't do 3 days your first time.
Yeah. Do some research. Don't just listen to us.
You will be surprised at how easy it really is once your body starts to become what they call fat adapted, and it starts running off of fat and ketones.
Yeah,
it's really incredible.
And that was the thing. I think again, this is a tool to be used responsibly. Yeah. I don't want people going like, oh, we're advocating never not eating or starving yourself, because there's a big difference between doing a controlled fast and then starving yourself. And you have to recognize that. I think it's very important for people to hear that. Like if you're gonna mess with intermittent fasting, do research, try it out. Try maybe, I would say, even a week of, hey, maybe a 16-hour fast or something like that, where you only don't look at it as the time you're not eating. Look at it as like, what's the optimal time to be consuming calories or to be consuming macros, bringing that food in, and then maybe you don't eat from like, I don't know, 8 to 10 or something like that, or 8 to 2.
Like 14 hours.
We regularly do what's called intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating. They're two concepts combined where we only eat between noon and 8 p.m. And the thing is, guys, I promise, like, we're not starving ourselves. Like, we don't, if we ever feel hungry, we're eating. Like, we don't like starve ourselves and only hit it in a certain time. That's just naturally how we feel hungry. Like, just try it. Obviously, check with your doctors. We're not doctors, but check with them, do your research. But you'll find that, like Amy said, you really don't need to be eating as much as you probably are. You'll see that.
Oh, no, macros good?
Well, macros are just the way that calories are split.
Macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese, very good. Not for you.
It's crazy when you look at the food pyramid from what I was like taught in school. With carbohydrates and vegetables and all these things. Like we're learning so much, and we still don't know everything, right? But like it's fun to experiment with your body and see what you feel best on.
But you're referring to the what they call SAD, the standard American diet, which is that food pyramid. You remember when you were a kid and you'd see it on the back of milk cartons, and it was like, make sure you eat this much stuff per day, and it's like 80 helpings of corn.
And 3 meals a day. You know,
well, the idea of 3 meals a day is fascinating. I'm not sure where that came from.
Farmers.
Is that from farmers?
Back when we were, my understanding is it's back from when we were much more, we did more labor like that. Farmers ate 3 times.
Burning more calories.
That's why we have time zones too.
I mean,
they need to figure their shit out.
In daylight saving times.
We don't burn that type of calories anymore. Like we're driving everywhere. Most of us don't walk. We're sitting down a lot more often, so we don't really need to eat that much.
I walk a lot. Move to San Francisco, you'll walk a lot.
Oh my gosh.
You guys are in LA.
Too.
They wrote a song about it. Nobody walks in LA.
Oh, no.
That's the name of the song.
Not at all. We're just in our little bubbles.
Although you do, though, if you live in like a neighborhood, right? Like if you have places to walk, like some people do walk. But maybe not you guys. You guys are
I mean, cars are nice too.
So where can people find your stuff? What are you up to? What are you doing? If you're going to push something, what would it be?
My YouTube channel right now, and then the Twitch, Attack the Stack. So, we're taking a lot of things, a lot of knowledge we've learned through the years and that I've learned through the years, and putting it out into the world and giving back to the people who've been supporting me. So I'm doing a lot on my YouTube channel with different series. I did something called Hero Training, where I basically spotlight stunt performers and like UFC fighters and stuff. I bring them onto my show and I train with them, so people get an idea of like how these people train and what they do. And then some nutrition videos, like if anybody's interested in like the keto diet and nootropics and things like that. I'm doing a lot of videos on that. Fitness, really pushing things that I am passionate about by myself without having to wait for somebody to tell me when I can't work.
I love it.
There you go. Yeah. So what is that? YouTube.com/
Amy Johnston.
So spell that out for people.
AMYJOHNSTON.
There.
I nailed it.
There
I wrote it
you
down
go.
here.
Oh,
I did it
right there.
Good job.
Right
Ladies
there.
and gentlemen, that is the Game Over Greggy show today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are watching live with us, that's right. We are going to come at you in about 15 seconds with the post show. For everyone else, if you want to watch the post show or if you want to support us anywhere, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunny. Check out all those tiers. For $1, you could be a part of this post show, just like Charles Jacobson probably is.
He is.
If he's still there, I'm going to ask you lots of questions about really cool things, but no one's going to know that unless you're a part of the post show. Until next time, it is our pleasure to serve you.
What's up, guys? Hope you liked that show. That was a great one. Click here to subscribe to us on YouTube. Click there to subscribe to our Kinda Funny Games channel. Click here to support us on Patreon. And right here, somewhere over here, Cool Greg's going to put a magic fun video. What do you put there?
Usually party mode.
Oh, okay.